The night was heavy with silence, the kind that presses down on your chest until you can hardly breathe. Sarah sat by the window, her fingers tracing circles on the fogged glass. Outside, rain poured like it was trying to wash away the memories she could no longer bear to hold. The soft hum of the city below felt distant, irrelevant, because in a few hours, she would have to say goodbye to the only person who ever truly knew her. Adil had been her world once, her laughter, her chaos, her calm. But love has a cruel way of fading, not all at once, but slowly, like a candle burning down to its last flicker. It wasn't anger that pushed them apart, nor betrayal. It was silence. The kind of silence that grows between two people who once talked for hours, but now couldn't find the right words to even ask how the other was doing. She still remembered their first fight, how she'd stormed out, tears blurring her vision, and he had run after her barefoot into the rain. That night he'd hugged her so tightly she could feel his heartbeat against her ribs. "Promise me," he'd whispered, "no matter what happens, we never stop trying." And for years they didn't. But life changes people. Work got in the way, priorities shifted, and the promises they once held sacred began to feel like burdens neither of them knew how to carry anymore. Tonight, he was leaving for another country, a job offer he couldn't refuse, an opportunity she couldn't ask him to let go. They both knew this wasn't a temporary distance. It was the quiet end they had both been avoiding. She looked at the small suitcase by the door, her hands trembling as she reached for her phone. The message she typed and erased for the 10th time read, "Can I see you one last time?" Before she could change her mind, she pressed send. Minutes later, her phone buzzed. "Adil, I'll be there in 20. When he arrived, he looked almost the same, but there was something in his eyes, a softness wrapped in sorrow. They didn't speak for a while. They just sat there, side by side, watching the rain like strangers who once shared a lifetime. "So," he finally said, forcing a smile, "you still make tea too strong." She laughed, a small fragile sound that broke the tension for a moment. But then the silence returned, heavier this time. He glanced at his watch. "My flight's in a few hours." "I know," she whispered. Her voice cracked. "Do you really have to go?" He sighed, not meeting her eyes. "If I stay, I'll keep waiting for things to be like they were. And we both know they never will be." The words hit her like cold rain. She wanted to tell him she still loved him, that she'd try again, that maybe this time would be different. But her heart already knew the truth. Sometimes love doesn't die because it ends. It dies because it can't find a way to live anymore. When he stood up to leave, she followed him to the door. He turned, hesitated, and pulled her into one last embrace. It was quiet, but in that silence lived every unspoken word, every apology, every memory, every dream they never got to live. "Take care of yourself," he said softly. "You too," she replied. Her voice broke on the second word. He lingered for a moment, as if trying to memorize her face. Then he walked away. Sarah stood there, her hands trembling, her heart screaming for her to call him back. But she didn't. She watched as his figure disappeared into the rain, taking with it the last pieces of the life they once shared. Hours later, she found herself still standing by the same window, the rain finally easing. On the glass, where her tears had fallen, she traced the words she never said aloud. "Before the last goodbye, I should have told you I still loved you." Days turned into weeks, and the world went on as if nothing had changed. She tried to fill the silence with work, friends and routine, but everywhere she went, she saw pieces of him, in the books they read together, in the cafe where he used to wait for her, in the faint echo of a laugh that sounded like his. Every night she wondered if he ever thought of her too. Months later, she received a letter, no sender's name, just her address written in his handwriting. Inside was a single page. "If love had a map, I'd still be lost in you. But maybe goodbye was the only way to find ourselves again." She held the letter to her chest and smiled through her tears. For the first time, she didn't feel anger or regret, just gratitude. Some goodbyes don't end stories. They teach you how to live again. And as she watched another sunrise through that same window, Sarah whispered to the morning air, maybe this is what love really means, to let go before the last goodbye. चाहो तो ABS स्टोरी के लिए मैं YouTube डिस्क्रिप्शन, हैशटैग्स और थंबनेल प्रॉम्प्ट विदाउट टेक्स्ट बना दूं से स्पीक स्टाइल में।